Hello, and welcome. We return with Worldbuilding Wednesday. It is, of course, the day of world building, in which we build, well, worlds. It's been a short while, so let's get right back to it, I suppose. Let's see here. So, of course, we're working on Galactic Requiem as per usual. But today, I believe, we're going to work more on descriptions than map work. Just for, well, because I've been working on quite a few maps recently. So, let's actually write fun descriptions. It's actually one of my favorite things to do, as I've said many times before, because we get to tie things together and make little paragraphs about how the different nations, factions, organizations, history events, anything ties together into a, well, hopefully coherent world. Of course, working on a galaxy has some upsides and downsides. So we will, of course, for ease of everything, be working on, well, Sector East 40? Yep, East 40. The sector in which our solo campaign takes place specifically. As usual, I might have already said this, but maybe I didn't. I'm your host, Casimir Basilius, Imperial Lord. And, well, I'm here to bring you the galaxy. So, without much further ado, let's get down to some actual world building. Let's build the world. So, first of all, let's actually just swap over to the space map. I know it's the map we usually build maps on, but how else are we going to figure out what exactly we're going to world build? Let us interact with our data sheet here. Let's go to the bottom of our data sheet where we do the world building work. So it doesn't lag. Here we are. Okay. So I think in part due to the fact that I have been recently working a bit on cybernetics. Let's actually make some cybernetic stuff, not items per se, or maybe items. We're going to work on descriptive paragraphs and like of that kind of thing, while adding to the world building, of course. We are building sort of on a already established universe in a sense. We're adding to it and talking about it. Let's see. So first things first, let's pick a random cybernetic I've been working on getting stats down for. Here we are. We have to find one out of the like 150 generic cybernetics. I say generic, but like they're templates, if you will. I've been over this before, but a lot of what we build, stat block wise, are templates. Thus, we can use modifiable, well, modifiers, if you will, tags and modifiers to make a basically infinite amount of well, not infinite, but like, an amount of sub objects for our primary object. As I've been over before, with like, usually we use different dice, but if we have the car's speed set, we could like use a d6 and say, okay, is this car, we know that this car is going to be faster, but by how much? This specific model from this specific world's faster, but by how much? Roll a dice and we roll a 5 on a d6, so we can determine that that's going to be a lot. And, using a chart I don't have open in front of me at this moment, but we could basically be like, okay, so this model is this much percent faster or this much percent slower, and thus make basically as many variants with differing stats as we need. So we work on a lot of base templates and or generic items, even though they're not, necessarily generic, because whenever people buy them or we modify them to make it, because, how do we put this? There's a galaxy out there with like an uncountable, well, not uncountable, a annoying to an annoying to count amount of star systems with an annoying to count number of nations. So by combining all this, we have an annoying amount of different corporations making a ridiculously large amount of items, which of course some will be similar, some will be different, and all. So what makes them different, as I've said before, not only their stats, but the descriptions. Let's see. I'm looking for something a bit more complex, something to write out. One of the things I realize is, so we have a lot written down, like a lot of items and lore and everything, but a lot of the lore I haven't actually written down or put into words or formatted. I suppose we should do that at some point. Anyway, when better to work on that than Worldbuilding Wednesday? Okay, so let's do this. No. I mean, yes, but I was going to make a joke about we can't start. We haven't rambled for a full half an hour about nothing yet. So, well, well, well. If it isn't Maxwell. How goes? I'm just preparing to put some stats on sheets. Different Imperial Lord. That would be a very, very different Imperial Lord. I assure you, I, Lord Basil, have very few things to do with the southern frontier. Other than the very, very successful foray into the Sacred Grove system in an attempt to assault their Dyson swarm very successfully. Very successfully. I cannot, no, I cannot help with your conflict against the robots of the Coalition. They, I can't afford to get into, well, monetarily, I suppose I can afford to, but I can't. It would. I can't engage in conflict with the robots of the coalition in a way that would not be detrimental to my own forces and nation. Besides, you say that like your in-game nation doesn't have like more star systems than mine. I have 3 star systems. You have 18 star systems, plus the like off the top of my head, I don't have it in front of me, but like what you have like one, two, three, four, like 6 additional systems you're colonizing. So, like you have more systems than me. To be fair, I believe, doesn't your nation have like 590 something billion people? While mine has 600 and something billion people? Plus, of course, an imperial economy, as opposed to your, I don't know, lesser economy with your, low technology level. So, economically, yeah, my nation has better economics. But 3 star systems, 3 stars, and a higher population, of course. 3 star systems. I mean, to be fair, the fact that you remember how it was explained to you that your nation's population was small. I'll just point out my 3 star systems have more population than your 18 star systems. So, you like your farmhouses? Well, I mean, your worlds are rather rural. I bet you have worlds with like 1,000 people on them. Some ridiculously low number. More cows than people. True, true. But, I mean, let me remove our data sheet real fast. Swap our map over to the galaxy map. Where's the galaxy map? Here we are. So, I mean, for reference, this isn't even my system. This isn't my systems. My systems is a dot within this lesser territory. The robots of the coalition have this entire multi-sector territory. I don't think I don't think even I mean no offense to the board I serve, but I don't even think my lord could take on the robots of the coalition. They they're they're a major nation. Imperial lords, despite all the technological advancement and the power of the empire, singular individual imperial lords don't have a lot of sway, a lot of power. I mean, 10 to 1 ship odds, sure, but still. Actually, no, I'm curious. 1 second. No, I really want to know. So, different lords have different, what's what I'm looking for? Territories based on their titles, different amounts of land. I forget what some of the current largest landholders in the galaxy, imperial territory landholders in the galaxy, have. Hmm. So, one moment while I check. Where's my factions book? Faction catalog, Imperials, Grand Empire. Nope, we're on the Council. Let's swap over. Grand Dimensional Empire. Territories. Amounts of things held per territory. Okay. That many systems with an average of about 700 per sector. Nope, that's times, not divide. Let's try that one more time. Here we are. So, for comparison, the highest, I say highest, I mean, like, to theoretically acquire a high title in the Empire, you need about 2,048 systems. Oh, 2,048 systems. 2,048 systems plus equates to approximately 3 sectors. Approximately 3 sectors. So this isn't the max, of course. We're talking about archdukes and archduchesses. Of course, above that is grand dukes, grand duchesses, grand princes, grand princesses, then kings and queens, and etc. But archdukes, looking at 3 systems. So not 3 systems, sorry, 3 sectors. So you're looking at three of these white squares on this map. 3 to 4, because of course you do need to take into account that that's the minimum requirement to acquire the title. So we're looking at like 4 sectors. So a square of 3 to 4 of these grids to be a archduke. Not a lot of territory, surprisingly. Especially when you consider that most of these, well, to be fair, this neutral territory has less than an archduke. So does this one. A lot of the constituent nations of the Federation of Allied Nations have less than an archduke. Some of the larger major nations, like the United Boan territories, have more than an archduke. The Unstay, of course, have more than an archduke. A lot of these nations have more than an archduke's territories. And then, of course, we need to take into account, well, I mean, so if an archduke has 3, a grand duke has about 4,000 systems. So they're looking at about 6 squares. So still less than some of these major nations, but again, taking into account actual imperial output, which is higher, and 10 to 1 ship odds on average, like the Empire is hitting above, a Lord is hitting above their weight class. But still, some of these nations have more territories than imperial lords. Just something to consider. And, well, a lot of these territories are, how do I put this? Well, let's go one step higher. The rank of king and or queen has about a minimum of 8,192. So we're looking at like, oh, let's do the math real fast. 11 to 12. 12 roughly, because round up ever so slightly. A minimum of 12. However, that title technically has no maximum amount of star systems. Like, you don't get the higher rank. There's one leader of the empire, the current empress. So, like there's no higher rank than king or queen. Sort of. There's sort of an unofficial like rank of like high king and so forth, but that's more for political purposes than land holding purposes, honestly. That more deals with prestige and if there are multiple of such in a galaxy, are you the one that's considered the ruler of that galaxy, or are you just one of the lesser kingdoms of the galaxy and things like that. So there's some there's some rollover, but it doesn't really mean like more territory or minimum territory requirement for that tier. But so yeah, you're looking at 8,192 plus systems. So anything above that minimum. So even then, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you're looking at like a territory like this. Minimum. Up to maximum infinite. And you can have multiple kings or queens. There's usually one, but you're looking at about that many holdings. So they're starting to actually match what could be described as the full output of a one of these larger major nations. I mean, given, as stated before, 10 to 1 in ship combat and the disproportionately advanced technology. Then again, some of these nations may look big, but they're not. Like, neutral space is multiple nations, it's not a singular nation. The Terran nations, yes, being plural, is multiple nations working together in a sort of loose alliance. Whilst the Coalition are a relatively coherent, cohesive nation. Same with some of the others, like I mean, even to be fair, the Enster are considered a singular, coherent, I say coherent, but like a single entity of a nation in a sense. But to be fair, the Enster are a bunch of, if I remember correctly, they're a bunch of houses. They're a bunch of different like guild houses that work on different aspects of biotech, but they're not entirely unified. Commonwealth, exceptionally unified. So they're one of the bigger unified nations. The alliance is a bunch of, well, it's an alliance. So some of the larger nations aren't entirely like unified per se. Same with like the Galactic Council exceptionally. So they are a bunch, just a bunch of separate nations. So a lot of the larger nations aren't actually like singular unified blocks with one purpose and goal that's going to necessarily steamroll anything. You know, unless something happens and they band together, but you know, even then there's disagreements among them and all that. So comparatively, while it seems like, you know, like you compare the territory of a leader in the empire to the council, it's like, well, that's a very little minimum amount of territory until you consider like the fact that the council is so many sub-nations. Then again, like I said, that's the minimums. Technically, like the largest territory a king commands and or queen commands is a galaxy. So usually that's like, I say maximum, that's usually where we have the cutoff limit. No, I don't even understand what that entirely entails. But basically, like, nations aren't. Okay, so I was about to say nations aren't big, but to be fair, having 12 sectors of 700 systems leaves you like 8,400 systems, you know? That's quite an empire. And then you consider that most systems have about 10 objects, and each of those, so that's like 84,000 objects. Then consider that each of those objects has about 10 billion people on standard standard population rate, not considering Dyson swarms and so forth. You're looking at 840,000 billion people or something like that. Or that's like what? Trillions. And then consider the fact that generally the rule of thumb for Dyson swarms is one Dyson swarm per sector, like what you can maintain without loss of management control. So you're looking at, for a Imperial King or Queen, like 12 Dyson swarms. They could run more, but you're looking at like 12 Dyson swarms. So, like, you know, that has a ridiculous amount of population. You're looking at basically, and again, Imperial control and technological advancement, you're looking at quite a lot of potential power projection. Then you consider the fact that they have sublords that work for them with their own territories and all that. But again, to be fair, most nations have Dyson swarms, at least one for each sector they control. So technically, like, the Commonwealth has more Dyson swarms than not the Empire as a whole. I mean, look at the size comparison of these nations compared to each other as wholes. But basically, we're looking at about um, more than a king. Also, this is going to get so very redacted, exceptionally redacted. The Empire may or may not currently be in decline. That's going to be so very redacted. I am definitely not a traitor, I assure you. I should not even say such things. But look, the Empire is currently fighting its own war. We're a bit busy doing that and using an exceptional amount of our resources on a internal conflict. So who knows? I'm sure there are those out there who would say that the Empire is sure to lose territory eventually. Sure, there are those who would say that. But, I mean, who's going to test that? Who is going to test the Empire? I do not think that will happen. For I assure you, many in the galaxy, even though they may not have been alive during it, will remember the First Galactic War. They will remember, they will read in history books all those nations that once existed on the imperial borders that are no longer there. They will remember the destruction that was brought to the galaxy, and they will think twice before trying to challenge the Empire. So no, I don't think we will lose territory. But the lesser nations of the galaxy are free to try. You know? You know, if theoretically some nation were to, I don't know, see a star lifting station, lifting, I don't know, neutronium off of a neutron star, and see it and go, oh hey, we have a few billion, we have a few hundred, a few, maybe even 1,000 battleship class vessels, and they have five. We should attack that imperial station. Maybe they should try that and see what happens. Maybe they should maybe they should see what happens if they challenge the might of the Empire. I'm sure that would go well for them. So, I think the Empire's in a pretty good position, if not for fear. And the fact that fighting, well, an Imperial rival force does not take away from our ability to direct resources to eliminate any uppity nations that might decide to try the patience of the Empire. So, you know, it's not your star. It's not even in your territory. It's just nearby. Besides, all systems in the galaxy belong to the Empire. They always have and always will, even if the lesser nations don't recognize that fact yet. They will, in time. And they'll benefit from this once they are brought into the Empire and guided by proper Imperial lords. Yes. So, I'm sorry. I do love rambling about the Empire. Being an Imperial Lord myself. However, once more, I'll bring up the fact that on the Imperial standing chart, when we talked about archdukes and archduchesses and all that, I am the second from the bottom of the list. I, of course, why, well, I often say Lord Casimir Basilius, because I am an Imperial Lord. My title is, of course, Knight and or Dame, not a high title. It means I have a minimum of 2 systems. I have 3 personally. I want a 4th, so I can become a baronetess, and then eventually rise to the ranks. But, you know, misjudging the assault on a Dyson swarm doesn't gain us territory. Turns out, the might of the Empire, of a single Imperial Lord with 3 star systems, cannot match the economic output of a Dyson swarm, no matter how fractured or inferior that Dyson swarm is. We can't match that economic output. Which is why we're working on such, well, this was mentioned once a while back, but it's why we're working on several mega projects in my home system. We need to boost our number of people. That won't get us a new title. Crazily enough, you would think the Empire would base their titles on population, because that's the more output you have. The more population, the more economic output. But no, no. You base it on territory. It goes back to the old structuring of the empire. We are, of course, conquerors of galaxies. We take over galaxies. So the title is to, in a sense, reward those who capture territory and maintain territory for the empire. Now, if you're wondering, well, if that's so, like, why not just have a little territory and build up? Because your tax rate, the tithes you pay to your lord, is not based on your territory, it's based on your economic output. So, a higher lord with less territory, if they control, say there's a lord who doesn't have a Dyson swarm, they're a baronet. Okay? A baronet doesn't have a Dyson swarm, but they have a knight in their territory with a Dyson swarm. That knight is paying tithes to that baronet. Therefore, a significant portion of their earnings still go to the person who has their territory in their control, et cetera, et cetera. It's imperial politics. Anyway, it goes into basically historically the fact that we're rewarded for taking over the galaxy. That's how we are rewarded. Which does mean, like, if you see the amount of territory we control on this map, which is a lot, um, there are countless, countless Imperial Lords. Usually of lesser title, but even of greater title. There are so many Imperial Lords, which makes it real hard to get anything done because we're often fighting each other. But, you know, anyway. So, let's see. Ah, yes. We were looking for cybernetics to write about. That's fun. How about, do we have much we can say about these? I'm thinking a night vision augmentation for eyes. Why not? Why that? Because I randomly scrolled through the cybernetics list and it's right there. That's why. Okay, let's see. Let's bring up our data sheet. Cybernetic. Night vision. Oh, oops, something I can spell. Let's zoom in so I can actually see what I'm typing. Night vision. Augmentation. Cyber intestines. That would be very specifically covered under artificial organs. Specifically, replacement. Well, yeah, replacement. Cybernetic replacements, artificial organs. An artificial organ to replace a already functioning internal organ. However, um, it's more under a blanket. But they don't really have, okay, they do sort of stats. Like, we have stats for them, but the majority are used as like replacements. So it's very much like, how do I put this? Replaces original as opposed to does anything special per se. I mean, there's different tiers. And now, like, increased metabolism and all that is a thing, but it falls under different augmentations. It doesn't, I mean, well, it is like intestines and stomach and all that. It falls under a different, like, category of enhancement as opposed to replacement, technically speaking. But, I mean, pro tip, just don't jump on a grenade and get your intestines vaporized, and then maybe you won't need cybernetic intestines, yes. I mean, so, admittedly, maybe this is a bit of a biased view, given my status and capability. Have you considered getting a biological replacement? Yeah, they're more expensive, but I mean, to be fair, do you have anti-EMP and ion augmentation? Or did you get the standard model for your previous cybernetic jaw and cybernetic, what was it, leg? Leg and jaw? Because if you don't have the anti-ion and EMP augmentation, well. And yeah, it's theoretically possible to get it armored. It's possible to get it ion EMP proof. It's possible to get it armored. Well, depends on the part. But yeah, no, technically. Here we are. One second. But there's different types of armoring. There's quite a few different types for cybernetics and yeah, also biologics, technically speaking. That's one thing I need to work on, bioengineering specifically, because it works similar to cybernetics, just uses a different skill, but there need to be a few custom additions. That's one I relatively usually put off working on, bioorgs and genetic engineering for GR, because it's easy enough to replicate rules-wise using cybernetics, but also it's usually not something that's available to like players. Not like it's not available. It's hard to put this way. It is exceptionally rare that a player has access to the equipment or a lab needed to do advanced genetic engineering or creation of like artificial parts that are more complex of the biological variant. So it's not like there's really been a need because there's already like a very bare bones framework in like I want to make a creature with 5 legs and hardened exoskeleton. Like it's there's already a framework to do that to a degree, which basically means there's usually not a like need for its own complete separate thing. Anyway, you could use some differentiation because there are, of course, some things that differ between, say, building a cybernetic and a bio-augment or a robot versus a genetically engineered creature. There are some differences that you can't basically translate one to one. But it's it's a how do I put it? It's a usable enough framework currently that if a player says, I want to make a monstrosity that has this, this, and this, there's a way to do it, you know? The framework is enough that there's a way to do it. And it's not like it breaks anything or anything. But admittedly is one of those very few areas which lacks some like specialized rule sets. I mean, cybernetic bioorgs, fully doable, like fully covered. It's more so the creatures, really. And like I said, the framework makes them doable. But yeah, no, cybernetics. Night vision augmentation, make a few models. Let's see. But how? But how? Let's start with the major group. Let's start with Omnicorp. Omnicorp model, wrong dice, is what we're looking for. Model 98 Night vision aug. Implanted night vision. Omnicorp Model 98. Implanted night vision augmentation. This augment was what to say about it? Of course, it's Omnicorp. Not statting, by the way. We're not statting. I mean, although we could add a little section of modified stats. Could add a little section of modified stats. Nothing's stopping us. Because of course, like some custom faction stuff is different, you know? Okay. We're looking at a relatively high grade Omnicorp night vision set. So let's say this one differs than the lower grade one by out to what, 1,000 feet? Hmm. Yeah, why not? Not entirely sure, so like 1,000 feet. Might modify that. This augment created by. Now we add the flavor. This augment created by Omnicorp. Was created by Omnicorp as a response to the civilian market for. This is what I'm looking for. Response to the civilian market for night worlds and underground cities. Actually, it's rather good night vision, so probably decrease the range. It's full civilian market. How far do they need? 500 feet? Oh. And underground cities. These cybernetic eyes. Not only these cybernetic eye implants. These cybernetic eye implants not only allow night vision, they also have a distinctive green glow. Why not? Why not? Distinctive green glow when activated. Okay. Doing that stereotypical green night vision optic glow thing. For fun. Let's see. Hmm. Is there anything else we need to say about this? Yes, I mean, there's a lot we can say. If I can figure out what that is, that's the hard part about writing descriptions. Especially when you don't have anything in mind, per se. There's not like something I want to work on or an idea I already have that I can just put down. We're working on things we have no idea about, off the cuff, if you will. The market for night worlds and underground cities. They have a very distinctive green glow when active. Sure. Let us make another one. Not night vision again, per se. We're just making lore, little bits of lore. Hmm. There was something that just passed my mind that I wanted to grab onto and then I forgot it. Hate when that happens. Hmm. Let's see. Hmm. There's lots. That's the problem. Picking one of the many things for us to actually work on. How about another product like that? Ooh, I know one thing I've been not working on that actually needs a lot of work. Books. Books. Both digital and physical. I have an entire section on on how to read books. And yet we have so few books. Like genuinely, we have a section on books. Books provide a bonus when you have and use or reference them. However, doing so usually adds some time to your check, about 1 to 4 minutes. Bonus of book 5 is usually from 1 to 6, depending on quality. A character can usually read and understand a book up to 250 words per minute or 1 page a minute. Complexity of topic and data can decrease or increase the amount of time as follows as per a chart. However, for every 2 points of int mod above plus 0, you can decrease the time per word by 1 step down to a max of 250 words or 1 page a minute, down to the max of 250 words or 1 page a minute. Basically decreasing complexity. However, there are other ways to increase the speed, like feats and all that. Some cybernetics or wetware augmentation increase reading speed by a significant portion, 2 to times 2 to times 10 or more. Downloading data can be instantaneous with digital neural interface with the ability for direct injection of data. If reading digital data with a neural datapad, you can read at a rate of 4 times speed and find data and or research at a speed of 600 times speed if there is a search function. You would still get your 4 times speed if there isn't a search function, but basically, like if the text is pictures, you would still need to technically read them because it's not necessarily digital in a file that you could use innately in your brain. There are direct brain downloads, which basically just dump the information directly into your brain instantaneously. And search functions are super useful, but not everything has a search function. For instance, if you were just to take a picture with your augmented eyes, if you have an augmented camera built into your neural data pad and just take a picture of something you're looking at, like a wall with like ancient carvings on it, it doesn't necessarily convert immediately into a readable text. There are, of course, some programs that might convert the letters into a readable text, but not every language is stored in your neural data pad. There are many languages, so it might not convert it, in which case you would have to read it manually if you understood it, you know? An Eldritch artifact you probably wouldn't be able to, well, decipher. Well, it depends on its language, to be fair. So, yeah. At some point, I'm gonna have to make books. Because, I mean, I put it off because there's lots of just easy. How do I put this? Okay, it's the way it's set up. They provide you bonus based on a bunch of things, etc., as I read, but I didn't really feel the need to say list mechanics book +6 on car repair. You know, like, because if a player is like, I want to buy a book on car mechanics, they can, and I can easily apply a modifier. I didn't feel the need to make a list for like books, you know? Of course, we have a little list of Eldritch books because, well, the rules for books of the Eldritch variety work a very little differently because they cause sanity damage and that kind of thing. Yellow. But yeah, study of Eldritch books is ever so slightly different. Like sanity damage can be taken, and sometimes you learn magic from them, and sometimes there's additional special effects. And so we have a little list of Eldritch books. Book titles. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, item lists. That's, well, a lot of things that need to be done are item lists. Like I said, it's a lot of modifying generic items, but it's the descriptions. It's always the descriptions that are the fun of it. Those absolute fools. What have they done? Whenever the Imperial conscripts decide to do anything. Ah, the Imperial conscripts. Where are they right now? Where are my conscripts? Lieutenant somewhere. There he is. There's the lieutenant. See, here we have the lieutenant. There's LT. He keeps our things running. Sort of. Partially. Go back to your workstation. Get, yeah. But yeah. Let's see. What other augment should we quickly put some details on? Yeah, I was an Imperial conscript once. I learned better from those days. I do, on occasion, long for the days of being an Imperial conscript. They are, they have a way about things. See, the difference between being a conscript and managing conscripts, there's a difference. Being an Imperial conscript is, it's a lot of chaos and messing around, you know? I mean, within orders, otherwise you'll get in trouble with the Imperial Lord you serve. But managing Imperial conscripts is a lot of conscripts getting in trouble. I mean, it's it it has its ups and downs. I mean, you can't blame the conscripts for what they do, but they try. I mean, we are, of course, right now, I think this is the right one. Nope, this is the wrong one. Yeah, well, for those of you who don't know, we are coming to you live from my little, well, the broadcasting room in my palace. Here it is, as you can see. There's my desk right in front of me. Indeed, pure chaos. But yeah, here's my little office, of course. That's the conscripts. That's the one that popped on screen right there. There he is. We always have him walk on over. We have a bit of a delay, of course. But as you can see, he steps on screen. And a couple of seconds later, after the stream delay, he's on screen. Crazy. And then, of course, our little conscript walks back to his workstation. And after the moment of delay, he's off screen. It's crazy. Why, thank you. Yes, I have a little garden in my palace for, you know, purposes, I suppose. It's it's a very imperial thing. We like our fancy gardens, and the front lot's not the best for it. I mean, of course, not every imperial lord has a garden, but the lord I serve, Lord Aline Merritt, has a whole thing with gardens. I mean, it goes all the way up to the imperial top, honestly, technically speaking. The empress has a garden, so many imperials view it as, like a thing culturally to, well, I say imperials, I mean imperial lords view it as like a status thing, given that the leader of the empire has a garden. We view it as a sort of status thing to have a little garden. I mean, power armor is good stuff. We have power armored troops too. Personally, my gardeners are conscripts, of course. They are currently in other parts that are not currently visible of my palace. All we have currently visible of my palace is the room we broadcast from, the sort of meeting room where we have meals and my coffee gets prepared whenever I go to make coffee, some imperial management, of course, my throne, a big, several dining rooms and a meeting hall, and then the forward area in which, well, we keep our forces for quick response if anybody decides to, stage an assault or I don't know. It would the steps required to get out front of my palace means that these machine guns are redundant. But just in case, we have machine gun positions. Just in case. Then, of course, there's the area in which we hold the military parades, where we have the forces marching across the screen. Oh, no, no, no. I am. I'm actually not Warhammer themed at all. I am Galactic Requiem themed. Galactic Requiem is, of course, a custom sci-fi setting that I have worked on for many, many years. It is well, in my eyes, rather generic sci-fi setting uh, that I run as a tabletop RPG and write short stories in, and eventually, at some point, I'll finish the novel. Ah, I don't think I've heard of that before. Galactic News Network cribs. Oh, good stuff. I generally run my stuff based off of all the, like rulebook wise, D20 3.0 to 3.5 because, well, that's what was out back in the day. Although, admittedly, our hacking rules are based a little bit on the old Cyberpunk 2020 book. Similar hacking rules. It's Galactic Requiem is severely homebrew. Ah, we have a few fantasy-ish worlds. Usually, the majority of medieval worlds in Galactic Requiem are usually very low fantasy for the most part. The most of them. We of course do have magical entities. Casting's usually rare. Casting being what we call magic. Here in the Southern Territories, as they're sometimes called. Let me bring up the map. Oh, where's our map? Galaxy map. Nope. Import of galaxy map. Here we are. So generally consider these civilized space, the core nations, and all the southern nations. Where, well, we usually have relatively high technology. There are places up north, usually over in this area, over near New Albion and Albion, where there's more medieval focus. Technically, these nations are relatively more higher tech, well, over in this section, but those are usually called the northern nations for the most part, given, well, crazily enough, they're to the north of the Empire. The Empire defines a lot of galactic terminology in a sense of the things that were north of the Empire became called the northern nations, and the things south became called the southern nations. Ah, so is it like, so it's people? I mean, technically, the southern nations, or the core nations as we call them here, are the leaders of galactic control for the most part, on account of, well, the North and the South don't really interact much given the vast imperial territories between them. Ah, interesting. But, yeah, basically, that's the map for the most part. I mean, it's relatively hard to see because unfortunately we have the galaxy grid up for players to actually move around the map so we can track distance traveled, which does make it exceptionally difficult to actually see when zoomed out. Let's swap back to a more visible map. Where is it? East 40. And of course, currently, on Solo Fridays, we usually do stuff, Solo Tabletop RPG Day, in the Terran Nations, which has quite a bit of territory. I suppose I should point out where the Terran Nations are. Terran Nations being right over here. But we follow the adventures of mercenary Juliana Aldis in Sector East 40, coordinates being, here's the council capital. It is east exactly 40 squares, or 40 sectors, if you will. 40 sectors is 150 light years, which brings us to East 40. We have a sector map, or part of it, that we're working on, that we will eventually get done someday. There is a version of the map out there of mine with no grid. It exists. If only I knew where it was. Oh, how'd you make them? Unfortunately, I don't have a non-grid version of sector maps because, well, these maps are specifically used for players traveling, but we have a non-grid section of the main map because, well, actually, is it not here? One second, one second, one second. I realize something. Where did I? Hmm. Oh, yeah. Okay. I realized the problem. A while back, my setup was ruined by the robots of the coalition. I don't actually have the non-grid version of the galaxy map around. That's only in my old videos. I mean, it exists as a file somewhere, but too many files. Hmm. I always, a while back, I every so often, I consider swapping Galactic Requiem to D100. But then I think I've done years and years of work on Galactic Requiem. I can't possibly swap to D100. I've already started everything forever. Hmm. So like lizard folk or let me quickly zoom, not zoom, reopen the data sheet. There we go. Open up night vision. Yeah, converting things to new systems is not a process I would not go insane from. Ah, I've generally found quite a few problems with D100, not D100, D20, that D100 theoretically fixes, but then I found problems with D100 that D20 works, fixes. There's never anything I've ever found that's like a solution for what I'm looking for. But then again, to be fair, Galactic Requiem is an attempt to simulate a living universe in a sense. So there's not really any good system that I've found that works for that. I mean, technically, originally, Galactic Requiem, the very first version of Galactic Requiem was D100 because the very first version of Galactic Requiem was based on Call of Cthulhu. Not lore-wise or anything, but the first tabletop RPG I played was Call of Cthulhu. So when I was like, I want to make something, the very first iterations were the Call of Cthulhu D100 style percentile. balance is always, I mean, it's where I always get hooked up on the rules, technically speaking. Like, at least in D20, no D20 system I've seen has vehicle rules that I am happy with. Because D20 focuses so heavily on like health points for the most part. There's no good vehicle system in it innately, so it involves a lot of custom design of vehicle combat systems, and then trying to make everything work together. Dimension hopping. Basically, in a sense, due to the setting of Galactic Requiem, I've sort of embraced a sort of imbalance in it. I mean, we have mechs. Not everybody has mechs, not every nation has mechs, but the fact that theoretically one can buy a mech or a tank, I mean, it's not common. Your average citizen and or player playing as a mercenary probably is not going to be able to afford a mech, but if they theoretically could steal a mech, and like air combat, of course, starfighters. When you consider the fact that a battleship can sling nukes at worlds, it gets it gets out of hand real fast. Luckily, as we're very sandbox, we embrace sort of alternate solutions to problems. Like the one time my players decided to set up mines and kill zones, completely trivializing an encounter with all sorts of biological abominations in a abandoned genetic research, not abandoned, but basically deteriorating genetic research facility. They set up a bunch of mines and kill zones and basically made the encounter trivial. Which, I mean, it's encouraged. But then sometimes my players get the idea that maybe they can successfully jump on 3 live grenades. And then their character takes several critical injuries, gets their lower intestines vaporized, and, well, 3/4 of the party have critical injuries in their most recent encounter set. So it's short going for them. Hopefully they'll solve that issue. I mean, mercenaries, ideally, they don't want to get damaged. In Galactic Requiem, damage is dangerous. Damage is damage takes days to heal for the most part, depending on the amount. But wounds, wounds take up to weeks. I mean, I could try. I'm not the I play very few tabletop RPGs other than Galactic Requiem in recent years. The majority of my knowledge of tabletop RPGs is from, well, your Elysian's what we call humans around here, 80s. I'm used to tabletop RPGs from the Elysian 80s for the most part. Cyberpunk, old Call of Cthulhu. And then the most, like, honestly, the most modern RPG I've played is like D20 3.5 and Pathfinder. Those are the most modern tabletops I've played in a long time. And even those at this point, I mean, what, like Dungeons and Dragons itself is moving on to like what, sixth edition or something like that. They don't call it sixth, but I heard they're working on like some new edition that's like after fifth. So that's, even though they don't call it sixth, it's like technically, like that's like how many above fifth? Not, no, not fifth, fourth, third. Because my last D&D was like third edition. But yeah, let's see here. What cybernetic do we need details on? Hmm. Let me just. Ooh, that's something I've never actually thought about that I should actually differentiate. I just realized. So, huge thing in Galactic Requiem that everybody has. I say everybody. Like, okay, admittedly, there are players that are weird and don't like computers in their brains. Apparently, some people say, oh, having a computer in your brain is scary and dangerous. I mean, look, I'm an Imperial Lord. I have a computer in my brain. You can see that little bluey glow over my eye. Looks a little like a monocle. That's not all neural data pad displays are visible. I just have mine visible. But, neural data pad, computer brains. Some people don't like having computers in their brain. Something I've actually neglected severely, that I realize I've neglected, that's actually like rather fundamental. We have stats for neural data pads. We have different modifiers for neural data pads. We have an entire rule set for hacking. I've never actually like written law on the brands of neural data pad. I just realized that because like everybody has them. Not every, like I said, not everybody, but so many people. I mean, there's also non-neural data pads. There's normal data pads for those people who don't like neural data pads. I mean, it's like what? 5,000 galactic standard credits to get a computer in your brain that makes you just better at everything. Yeah, there's like a small chance you could get hacked. But then again, like, technically speaking, you can turn your internet connection off on your neural data pad. Oh, no, data net connection. You Elysians call it an internet. We call it a data net. But yeah, like you could just turn your data net connection off, then you can't get hacked unless somebody, I don't know, like plugs a plug into your brain. I mean, assuming you have a port, you don't necessarily need a port, but some people have ports because it lets you use chips. Some people like using chips. They're not the kind that are tasty and crunchy, also known as crisps or fries. You know, talking like SD card style chips. Now, if we're being technical, is it possible to store data on something smaller than a micro SD card in Galactic Requiem? Yes. Yes. Is it practical? There is no, it's not practical. The reason, a person wants to usually hold the device. It gets real hard to hold something the smaller it gets. So usually chips that you use for things are about the size of a micro SD card. Of course, they hold like, I believe we use, what's our unit of data? Petabytes, which is like 1,000 gigabytes or something. But basically, like it's not one per chip, it's a lot per chip. As most programs in Galactic Requiem have an entire, well, here, I have a book for this. I don't have to try and remember off the top of my head. We just opened the DataNet book. Galactic Requiem DataNet and hacking rules. We scroll down to equipment and information. Devices. Where's our devices? Here we are. So basically, A neural data pad, which is super small, super thin, it literally fits into your brain, can carry about 150 petabytes of storage. You can get more or less, of course, but that's like the basic. Your average brain, when I say brain, I mean like if you want to run a person on a chip, it takes like 50 petabytes to run a person on a chip. Which is also how you run an AI on a chip. You also run people off of chips, which is how you mind upload and mind backup. You know, if for people who like mind uploading. Of course, there are, of course, people who don't want to upload their mind because they're afraid of uploading their brains. Even though it does grant virtual immortality. Which is why you can't kill an Imperial Lord. I mean, you can physically kill an Imperial Lord, but, you know, good luck with defeating an Imperial Lord with the output of with the economic output of a nation and the ability to back up their mind and make basically an infinite amount of bodies to upload into. I mean, I say Imperial Lord, but theoretically, anybody with enough money, we have stats and costs for uploading your brain and making backups and cloned bodies. We've statted everything. Everything. Kaya knows. We've statted everything. But your average programs, oh, wrong book. Accidentally started scrolling in here. Your average programs, like, where did I put them? Here we are. Yeah, so your average book or text file from from like even advanced ones is like 100 to 200 megabytes. A game runs 100 to 200 gigabytes for a more advanced one. And then like a neural net book or neural net text file runs like 100 to 200 gigabytes. A sensory data file, a sensory data game, or a sensory data program runs 100 to 200 terabytes. Sensory data basically being virtual reality. Like when I say virtual reality, I don't mean like a headset. I mean full up, you are in the thing experiencing stuff, you know, computers in your brains after all. And then if you want to like run a fully interactive virtual city scale thing, that's like 200 petabytes. And then if you want to run a virtual universe, technically speaking, it is optimized. Not everything is there at the same time being fully rendered and so forth, but it runs at like 100 petabytes. So theoretically, you could run a virtual universe on your neural data pad. You're not going to have a lot of space left over because you'll have like 50 PB left, but possible. Of course, you want one of more advanced one, it's going to take more processing power and all that. But that's data storage for you. Of course, super AIs, when I say super, I mean like, you know, godlike solving all problems type AIs, advanced AIs, take like what? Where are they? I have them listed here. The types that Corpse run will run you 2000 PB. Higher ones will cost you will run you 5000 PB, 50,000 PB, and 500,000 PB for like Imperial grade command AI. So those you have to actually have specific computers for. Anything usually above human in capability, you have to run on at least a, well, datapad tiers, like +1, +2, all the way up to +5 for the most part. But even then, you're not going to put that much space on one, so you need external space storage and the like, which costs additional money. And then get into hacking, all that, and gets a little complex, which is why we have network maps. Oh gosh, network maps. What does it all mean? What does it all mean? It's mostly used for in network hacking for the most part, as opposed to out of network hacking. Out of network hacking is real simple. Roll dice, compare charts, that kind of thing. In network hacking, if you want to go advanced long distance in network hacking, like you want to hack an AI, you go into the network map, which gets, well, it gets, that's for sure. But yes, I suppose I should note some neural data types. Omnicorp, standard. Omnicorp standard neural datapad. Of course, Omnicorp makes several variants of neural datapad, but what's the standard Omnicorp neural datapad? What differences does it have than a normal neural datapad? Those we should work on other factions too. Like the United Energy Conglomerate. Now, where's my factions list? We gotta find the megacorps. Faction catalog. Faction list. Megacorporations. Top 10 megacorps. Nope, scrolled too far. Here we are. Top 10 megacorps. Omnicorp, Ezrak Trade and Products, Kiltoran Products. Oh, ooh. They definitely have a brand. Okay, so Kiltoran Products are actually very specifically known for some of their assistant AIs in lore. They make literally they make Kaiser, Kiltoran Artificial Intelligence System Administrator, Kaiser. So of course they probably make neural data pads to run their AIs off of. You know, I mean you don't need a Kiltoran neural data pad to run a Kaiser. You can run a Kaiser off of any neural data pad if you want. But, you know, being a technology-based megacorp, they probably make neural data pads. Gilthoran products. I can immediately know what their description is. Omnicorp's a bit harder because they build so much. Kiltorn Products has a sort of theme, so they're easier to work with. For instance, Kiltorn Products and Data Pad. Produces easy to use, user friendly neural data pad interfaces. Neural data pad. Focused on automated, user-friendly. I suppose we don't need easy to use because it's the same as user-friendly. This is user-friendly neural data pad is focused on automated. What's the word I'm looking for? Automated. No, no, no. It's not automated. That's probably not the word I'm looking for. What's the word for simplified design? Close. Very close, not entirely. It is KAISA. because it's Keltoran Artificial Intelligence System Administrator. It's fine. It's fine. And it has one of those pointy hats. Kaiser, but wearing one of those pointy hats from World War One. Focused on a simplified user interface. Simplified and streamlined. Focus on a simplified and streamlined user interface. These datapads focus mainly on, what's the word I'm looking for? Sometimes the words I seek, they elude me. Let's see. These datapads focus mainly on assisting users in day-to-day tasks. They come with a built-in Kaiser. In addition to their basic functions, they come with a built-in Kaiser. Quick AI, I'm in a firefight. What do you suggest? Dig a trench. Oh, oh, we're in a space war though. Dig a trench. Yeah. Space trench. There's a day task in addition to basic functions come with the built-in Kaiser. Do we charge more? No. Yes. No. The real question I have to ask myself, stat-wise, is would Keltoran products increase the price of a neural data pad given the fact that they're including an AI? Honestly, while some corporations would, I genuinely don't think, just given Keltoran products being who they are, I don't think they'd charge more for the built-in AI. Indeed, cheaper AI. I mean, to be fair, AI in Galactic Requiem is cheap. Let me double check. Yeah, AI in Galactic Requiem costs very, very little. You can get an AI for as low, I mean, good cheap ones are even just like $1,000. You can get a reasonable AI for $1,000. So it's not like they're super expensive. But, you know, there are, of course, cheaper ones. And given that a neural data pad already costs like $5,000 for a neural one, I mean, might as well throw in a built-in Kaiser. Come with a built-in Kaiser. Do we want to add any stat modifiers to a Kaltoran product's neural datapad? Well, let's look at neural datapads. Standard computer actions with a neural datapad, computer users. So having a neural datapad, of course, makes a computer use a free action, allowing you to take up to 4 actions in a turn with your neural datapad, as opposed to using a normal computer, which can take minutes to do something, depending on what you're trying to do. You need a computer of some sort to make research checks and use computer use checks in regards to the internet. A neural datapad is a small, portable personal computer brain implant capable of advanced tasks. This implant is a powerful computer inside the owner's brain. They increase a user's computer use speed and allows viewing of augmented reality and virtual reality. These machines are common everywhere. This implant is a powerful computer inside the owner's brain. Oh, that's the one I already read. User datapads are able to run tasks of a tech level 10 to 13 computer at desktop computer at base. Modules, updates, and upgrades exist that boost the ability of a neural datapad. Some of the tasks neural datapads are capable of are datanet access, calculation, hacking, data storage, data transfer, communication, gaming, data creation, etc. Usually 0.01 millimeters by 10 millimeters. They have absolute negligible weight, and they do computer-related tasks. Let's see. So is there anything specific? Yeah, I mean, you gotta get them full virtual not even just augmented reality, not even what Elysians consider virtual reality. We're talking full immersion, digital experience virtual reality. And I mean, you know, it is better with a neural data pad because you're not staring at a little screen. Of course, there are other ways to do it, but those usually involve large equipment if you don't have a neural data pad. +1 on +1 on scheduling? Sure. I'm not sure how much that'll apply in game. I don't think I've ever made a player roll on scheduling, you know? But but sure. +1 on scheduling. Actually, there might be a actual skill that this should apply to. Let's see. That would be under. Ooh. Actually, there is a way we could represent that. There's actually a very, very good way we could represent that. Oh no, I know the exact bonuses this gives. I know the exact bonuses this gives. One more second for me to read this. Bureaucracy, cultures, and profession. Bureaucracy, cultures, and profession. That's the bonuses it would give. +1 on bureaucracy, cultures, and profession. Bureaucracy. Would you look at that? We started a special neural data pan ability. There's one other might that I want to check. So We have analysis. What about investigate? Is anything on investigate it might help or any sub skills under that? No, not really. Not really medicine. Ooh. Hmm. No, it wouldn't help with therapy. Networking. It would help with networking, not computer networking, like networking with people. As it would help you manage contacts exceptionally well and all that. So bureaucracy, cultures, profession, networking. Anything else? A Keltoran products, AI, well, neural data pad with AI assistant would do. Bring up our book. Hmm. It's not really built to help with bluffing. It's not really built to help with forgery. Of course, it can't really help with acrobatics or athletics, clearly. Hmm. No, I think those are the ones it'll help with. Everything else would just be additional. Would it help with streetwise? No, probably not. Um, it's used to heal stress and sanity damage for the most part. It's not a stat. It's a sub skill. It's a sub skill used to help with sanity damage, stress damage, that kind of thing. Because it turns out some people get stress damage when they get shot at if they're not used to that kind of thing. And yeah, also Cthulhu. But I don't think that Kaiser as a systems administrator really going to help with that, or having a organized UI for your neural data pad is going to help with stress damage. I mean, it would help with a sort of stress damage for people who stress about organization, I suppose, like technically speaking, you know? But that is such a specific instance of you have to like take a you'd have to take a like penalty. I say penalty, but like you'd have a drawback. That's what I'm looking for. You'd have to take a drawback at character creation of like stressed about organization or something for that to even like matter. You know, like I suppose technically, but that's such a very specific thing that is yet to ever happen. Like I've yet to have a player be like, I want to take the drawback, stressed at stressed about organization. Therefore, like I suppose if that were the case, so we don't really need to put that in its stat block, but you know, if that ever happened, I would be like, yeah, okay, because it helps you organize, it'll do that. But then again, that would be a bonus to your save, not a addition to the therapy subskill. That would be a bonus to your save against damage from such things. 99 stress life immediately implodes. Stress damage is no joke. Stress damage is there's stress, which leads to shock, which leads to sanity. If you take stress damage, it can be converted into shock and sanity damage, and but not reverse. Basically, they convert one way, not the other, and then those can be bought off with damage to your sanity and so forth. But stress damage, why would you ever buy off stress damage for sanity damage? Because stress damage basically eventually puts you into conditions that give you penalties on certain checks and so forth. But usually, characters usually don't take stress damage if they're combat capable in combat. It depends. I'm pretty sure somewhere deep in my files, I'm pretty sure I have a short story about Kaiser. I'm also pretty sure somewhere very, very deep in my files, hidden forever, I have a very, very terribly drawn image of Kaiser. Because I can't draw. Yes. But I mean, in Galactic Requiem, many people who have AIs do indeed consider them friends. Because, like, well, AIs are, well, there's different types of AIs, but many people, like, it's a sci-fi society. Like, there are sentient robots and such. I mean, the line between Terran, or any species really, and AI is a very thin line. Can an AI be downloaded into a neural data pad? Yes. Can that neural data pad be actually the processing unit of a biological, basically a biologically grown body? Yes. Can that AI then have a biological body? Yes. Can that AI have a robotic body? Yes. Can that AI simply just be in your neural data pad? Yes. So can a person upload their brain into just being digital? Yes. The lines of what is a person get very blurred. Yeah. It can in fact, you can in fact marry an AI, yes. It is in fact possible. Many, many. But I mean, that is future society. Let's see. I'm not even sure how I'd begin to describe an ETP AI. Ezrak Trading Products are they're not a single corporation. They're really very much an importer. Ezrak Trading Products are a megacorp that basically gathers together technology. I say technology, but basically buys product from non-Terran nations and basically provides non-Terran products to Terrans or to other aliens. They basically are a dealer of goods that aren't made by humans for the most part. It it is a gray area. I mean, it depends on the AI type. It really depends on the AI type. Then again, I mean, the robust of the coalition would say that any AI is independent, but they're definitely not biased. The robust of the coalition are definitely not biased at all whatsoever. Definitely not. They definitely don't hold a disdain for biological life. No. Um, it does depend on the AI type. There's sentient AI, there's imitation AI, there's learning AI, there's programmed AI, there's sentient programmed AI, there's sentient learning AI, there's non sentient programmed AI, and there's non sentient learning AI. So it really depends. I mean, is the droid you buy to make your dinner every day a sentient AI just because you can talk with it and it can emulate talking? It, it's it's a very complex topic, isn't it? I mean, the imperial view, well, the imperial view is that certain advanced AI is sentient, but not all. I mean, it's a shared view of most of the galaxy. But it's very complex. The hard part with Ezrak Trading Products neural datapad though is trying to describe an alien neural datapad, you know? I could make a novelty neural datapad. It could just be a novelty. I mean, they probably have multiple variants, but I realized how I could do it. I could make a novelty one. ETP. Hmm. It's really just descriptions of operating systems, isn't it? And or how they are organized. But yes. Hmm. It's so much easier to just put words on planets. Oh god, let's get off of the neural not neural datapad, network based map. Oh god, look at this. Look at this. It's of course a network. What does it mean? No. There we go. Back to our sector map. But yeah, AI in Galactic Requiem is in a very strange place. Not because it's not allowed or anything, but strangely, there's actually a movement in Galactic Requiem of AI basically saying that sentient AI should not count as automation. Specifically because sentient AI. So I think I might have been over this before, but in Galactic Requiem, there's a limit on automation. Specifically, there's a bunch of conspiracy stuff, but there's a huge limit on automation. So basically, the there's a limit on automation, and some nations consider even sentient AI automation. So there's some places with a limit on sentient AI being allowed to acquire jobs. So there's a huge thing about that. Like AI is in all has lots of complexity. Oh no. I'm sure the Empire would I'm sure the Empire would deal with such an individual. I'm sure the Empire would send its greetings to such an individual. Anyone who thinks they could besmirch the name of an Imperial Lord. Just as one thinks, just as the Empire believes one could not. The fear of the First Galactic War has put into citizens of the galaxy. Lords in the Empire have a certain status among other citizens, a certain understanding. Unlike many leaders in the galaxy, even many despots that would try to crack down on such things. The Empire differs in its capability to do so effectively. Yes, we have our ways. Everybody, everybody thinks they can besmirch the name of the Empire until one day they find themselves on an Imperial prison world. It's too late, Kaya. Look at your status on the server. It's conscript. You've already been conscripted. It's too late. Dang, I did not have it set up in time. I would have gone for, if I had it set up, of course, the Imperial, the rage music. Unfortunately, I don't have it set up. But I do have, not unfortunately, but all I have available, really. Huh? Do I not have these set up? Hmm, strange. Yeah, well, there we go. I really need to fix my layout. It's all absolutely broken. Huh. Oh, no? What? I'm very sorry. I'm confused by my own layout. It's Well, it's not like I need to use that anyway. Strange that it broke in the first place. I mean, assigned to the Imperial Logistics Department is not the best assignment. See, I was prepared though. I have it set up. I can see it all. You can't sneak attack on two fronts because I was prepared. Sure, half my things aren't working, but at least I can see every view. Crates. We will be moving crates. Here we are. I'm sorry, I'm fighting with my own interface. It is broken. And I keep saying I don't need it, but then I'm like, but why is it broken? It shouldn't be. I went all the way out of my way to set up a thing and then it breaks. I mean, to be fair, 400,000 Galactic Standard credits for 2 years of work. It's not a bad thing. Actually, I mean, I've been over this before here, but I might as well go over it again. All conscripts are paid 403,200 credits at the end of their 2-year service. All Imperial conscripts get a free neural data pad, training in their assigned field via skill upload and or download. Military service assigned conscripts gain extra benefits such as automatic licensing for military grade equipment, life extension treatment at no cost, a free basic medical package for life. A full 2-year pay can be paid out paid out to an account in case of accident or death. And if a citizen is a Class 5 citizen, they will be improved to a Class 4 citizen. So, yes. When signing a contract in the Empire, it is usually in a term of 10 years. The contract states it's indefinite, however, the government usually allows exit every 10 years. This can include, same with conscription, military service, factory work, bureaucratic work, just basically any government job. The field is assigned semi-randomly based on skill and government demand, and enlisting may be done only after you've completed a conscription term. Benefits to signing a contract, you're paid 2,016,000 credits at the end of your 10-year service, a free neural data pad, training in the assigned field. Military service for this has all the benefits of before, but in addition, a citizen below a Class 3 will immediately be improved to Class 3. 04, getting the military rank of 04, the citizen's class will be improved to Class 2. At the rank of 08, a citizen's class will be improved to Class 1. At the rank of 02, an individual gains contact with the Imperial government to be used as they see fit. Basically, you can make contact checks using the Imperial government. And the contact improves by +1 at ranks 04, 06, and 010. Starting with a +1 at rank E8, every 2 ranks increases the individual's social status score by 1. If it is below the base, to a max of 19 social status. And lore-wise, in addition to all that, Imperial education, just because it's noted here, a mix of Imperial Commissariat propaganda and Galactic Standard education. Imperial schools instill discipline and knowledge in their students. All Imperial schools are government-run facilities. Imperials are trained in problem-solving, athletics, math, sciences, etc. That is of course, all before Imperials are conscripted. Of course, those who join the Empire, those non-Imperial citizens who join the Empire, are still required to do their conscription, but are also provided a free Imperial education, so they learn the ways of the Empire, and because, I mean, they probably learned wrong under other nations, like the Council. Oh gosh, a class 5 citizen is a former criminal. You do not want to be a class 5 citizen. I mean, to be fair, all imperial citizens have rights, of course. But some imperial lords restrict the travel of certain classes of citizens. Class 3 being a standard citizen, Class 1 being rich and famous citizens. It's basically, Class 1 citizen is basically the highest tier in the Empire you can get short of being a lord. And, well, true, true. And, I mean, yeah, Class 1 is the highest you can get without being a lord. However, technically, military outranks citizenry. And there are certain, like, respects that are given to military in the Empire and government service people, not just military, just basically anybody who's conscripted for the most part. We have different agencies, of course, have an entire list of imperial agencies. We, of course, have the Imperial Fleet, the Imperial Army, the Imperial Government, the Imperial Commissariat, the Imperial Police, etc., etc. Basically, basically, there's a lot of different departments in the Empire, including logistics. Because, I mean, somebody's got to manage where everything goes when you have, well, an entire. I mean, like I said earlier, I have like 600 billion citizens in my 3-star systems. There's a lot of logistics that go into that. And I mean, to be fair, it's a fulfilling job. It's a fulfilling job. Okay, sort of. First of all, housing is provided. Second of all, other than provided housing, I mean, the fun comes from walking around an imperial city. I okay, okay. This isn't treason or anything for me to say this, but I'm a I'm a tell you, I personally am not really a fan of imperial media. I'm not, surprisingly. I'm a fan of Elysian media. That's your Earth media. As little as I know about it, I'm a fan of it. Elysian culture and media, but not not really a fan of imperial media. It's all too, how do you put it? Propaganda-y. You know, like you don't. So strangely enough, imperial media does not portray any imperial media actually involving the empire does not ever portray us as the underdogs. Never. Well, I mean, clearly, we're not. Obviously, we're the empire, but strangely enough, like it's never about like it's never about, oh no, the empire's outnumbered. No, no, no. It's usually here's stuff about a lord, or here's a political drama involving imperial lords, but clean, but clean, because we can't show imperial lords being, you know, not fancy, you know? And the more down to earth stuff is very, like, you don't even see a conscript lose in imperial media, you know? I mean, some of it you do, some of it you do, to be fair. It's more the lore-based stuff. It's too there's a even in the more gritty media, there's always an air of, yeah, exactly, exactly. An air of the Empire being victorious. Sure. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to describe to Elysium. It's it's very, very propaganda feeling. Not all of it. Like I said, not all of it, but a lot of it. And even the more gritty stuff has an air of that to it. Even when, Imperials are losing in Imperial media, it's still an air of propaganda to it, given that, well, the way as mentioned earlier, Imperial education itself involves a lot of propaganda in teaching Imperials. And, well, we have a commissariat. It's not it's not a 40K style, we shoot people commissariat. No, 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 no. It's a political government branch. It's a they manage policy of lords within the government and military, not a we shoot deserters. It's more, is this politically approved? Actual, like, proper commissariat from the old. The best example is your Elysian Soviet commissariat, like actual, like that, as opposed to. I mean, the good old days when I used to be a conscript. Hanging with the conscripts was the good old days. We'd kick down doors, take names, crack jokes, you know, the good old days. And someday I'll return to the battlefield in an adventure. Anyway, yes, it is, however, about that time. Just about. In which I get the coffee. True, true. But, I mean, true. But conscripts, but commanding a legion of conscripts, though. Anyway, we made some small amount of progress today, which is good. I mean, it is our first day back after, like, a week, so that's good. Our plans are to, well, let's see our plans. Not sure I don't think we're doing anything Thursday. Friday is, of course, solo tabletop RPG Friday, in which we will continue following the adventures of our mercenary, Juliana Aldis, as we watch her with our, you know, dimensional manipulation device. We're going to watch Yelena Aldous go about her adventures on Friday, also known as Solo Sunday, because technically, if you see the calendar there above my head, um, we're 2 days ahead of you. Not like timeline wise, but our calendar, it's 2 days ahead of your Elysian calendar. So whenever it's like Friday, it's Sunday. Technically today's Worldbuilding Wednesday, but it's actually Friday for me here in the galaxy. Um, so yeah, on your Sunday, no, Saturday, no, Friday. Words are hard. Friday, I believe it's your 12th Friday. We're going to do solo tabletop RPG. On Saturday, possibly, probably Armor. No plans for Sunday or Monday. Tuesday, we're going to try and get the news. And then more World Building Wednesday. We'll see how that all goes. We might throw some additional stuff in there. Maybe. Perhaps. Who knows? But our assured plan is Tabletop RPG Solo Friday. And probably, very likely, Arma Saturday. And possibly News Tuesday. Definitely World Building Wednesday next Wednesday. Those are our plans. As always, I have been your host, Casimir Basilius, and I hope that you, yes, you, have a wonderful day. And thank you all for stopping by.